Larry Klayman, special prosecutor with Larry Klayman, yours truly, coming to you with another podcast, synthesizing what went on yesterday at the State of the Union and what will go on today with regard to the vote, which will acquit Donald J. Trump of impeachable offenses. Watching that State of the Union address, and the president delivered it extremely well. He's getting better with a teleprompter, but he's also ad-libbing a lot. I was struck by the disrespect, as many people were, probably the entire country, of House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. She behaves like a vile witch. She makes the Wicked Witch of the West, or is it the East, whatever, she's all over the place, look good in The Wizard of Oz. Unbelievably disrespectful, unbelievably affront to the people of the United States and our great nation. Now, coupled with that, sitting in the front row was Adam Shifty Schiff, Gerald Nadler, the whole rest of the lying House impeachment managers to be in the president's face. He took it well. He delivered an excellent speech. And of course, you also had those radical Muslim representatives, Rashida Tlaib and Ilham Omar, wearing their so-called native dress, which was obviously meant to poke the president as well with regard to his immigration policies and trying to limit the flow of immigrants that may be terrorists from Middle Eastern countries. This all points out to the fact that we need to really bring about justice in this country. These people are not accountable to anything. They think they're part of a special club. They believe that the rest of the country supports them. Much of the country does, unfortunately, particularly in Hollywood and other places. But the reality is that they need to be called on the carpet. And that's what we're doing at Freedom Watch. I want you to go to freedomwatchusa.org and sign up for our citizens' grand juries. In 1992, as I've said before, the great late Justice Antonin Scalia issued an opinion styled United States versus Williams, where he said the grand jury belongs to the American people, not to the three branches of government. Individuals like Pelosi, Nadler, Schiff, the rest, who have subverted our Constitution, who have violated the rule of law, who actually themselves have committed impeachable offenses. Of course, no one ever is impeached. Unfortunately, that's a weakness in our political system. There are presidents who deserve to be impeached, but they never were. Justices are almost never impeached. I think once in the last several decades. The last one was Alice E. Hastings. He was impeached, removed, and then he ran for Congress, and he won from Miami. But we need citizen justice, and that's what citizens' grand juries provide. So we will be seeking the indictment of Nancy Pelosi, Adam Schiff, Gerald Nadler, James Comey, Rod Rosenstein, Bruce Orr, the Lovebirds, Page and Strzok, Brennan, Clapper, Obama's intelligence czars. We'll be doing all of this, and we need your support. We've already indicted Robert Mueller last fall, and he's going to be tried this year, too, through a citizens' court. Hopefully convicted. We're convinced that he will be. He tried to suborn perjury, obstruct justice, force Jerry Corsi, my brave client, to lie, to implicate the president in Russian collusion and crimes. These people need to be held accountable. It will not happen in Washington, D.C. It will not happen around the capitals of this country. It won't happen in your hometown because these federal judges are very, very politicized. They don't want to take risks. They wear their politics on their sleeve, by and large, almost overwhelmingly, 99.9% when it comes to these kinds of matters. And we need to take action ourselves. The president made reference to Wyatt Earp last night. Wyatt Earp is a hero of mine. He did what he had to do within the bounds of ethics and the law. There was no Justice Department at that time. Justice Department didn't come into effect until July 1st, 1870. People, he hearkened back to what we did in the Old West, where the people themselves fairly meted out justice. And that's what we need to do again, over and over again. Now, at Freedom Watch, we just don't get documents. When I started Judicial Watch many years ago, 25 years ago plus, it was to investigate and prosecute government corruption and abuse. When I left to run for the U.S. Senate in 1994, Tom Fitton took control of that organization and changed the mission to furthering transparency in government. Well, that's fine. To get transparent documents, that's good. We get that too. But the question becomes, what do you do with the documents once you get them. Fitton's not a lawyer. The lawyers that Judicial Watch now has on its staff don't know how to try complex cases. They just handle mostly Freedom of Information Act cases, or when they're doing other cases, they hire outside lawyers to do it. I'm a lawyer of 42 years experience. The people around me know how to try cases. We also have hard-hitting cases. And one of those cases concerns Biden. Okay, now we may not get justice with regard to what happened in the Ukraine because no one in the Republican Senate or House has any guts to pursue that. He's their colleague. But I have a lawsuit against him for messing around with our YouTube site where he had it taken down by YouTube. I had to threaten Google YouTube to get it back up. And you can find that at freedomwatchusa.org. You can find it on Facebook, on Spotify, on iTunes, on Patreon. These YouTubes, they're important to educate the American people. Biden interfered illegally with what we are doing, and we struck back and we sued him. And consequently, these are the kinds of cases we bring. We have cases against Rashida Tlaib for assaulting Laura Loomer. We have cases against the social media companies for discriminating against conservatives. We have cases, defamation cases, against the leftist fake news media for Sheriff Joe Arpaio, for Judge Roy Moore in my private capacity. These are the kinds of things that need to be done. We can't sit there and just watch. We don't have a government anymore. It doesn't exist. It's the government not for the people and by the people. It's the government for the people who try to control our lives. And that is why John Adams said, it doesn't matter how many times you change your rulers or forms of government. Without ethics, morality, and religion, you will not have a lasting liberty. His other great founding father, Thomas Jefferson, said, when the people fear the government, there's tyranny. But when the government fears the people, there's liberty. And they need to fear us peacefully and legally. We're not going to resort to violence, but let's use the tools that we have. Let's call these people accountable. So I want you to spread this podcast to everyone. Education's important. We need to unite the people. You can find this podcast at radioamerica.com. You can find it at freedomwatchusa.org. You can find it at iTunes. You can find it at Spotify. You can find it at Patreon. You can find it at American Greatness. And one other clarion call. Now that the president is going to be acquitted today in this impeachment trial, we need to be very vigilant. There are forces of the deep state out there that want to not just remove him, but to harm him. And that's something that's happened to previous presidents. We remember President Lincoln. We remember Warren Harding. We don't know how he died. He was not a good president, but mysteriously he died. People think he was poisoned. We remember the attempt on the life of Ronald Reagan. This deep state, run by the CIA, under President Kennedy during the Bay of Pigs, many people think that it was the CIA who caused the assassination of John F. Kennedy for being, quote, soft on communism, for trying to have a rapprochement with Khrushchev and also Castro, for taking our missiles out of Turkey, for agreeing that we would never, ever challenge the Castros again. There are many other reasons. I don't know what happened, and I pray to God nothing will happen to this president. But he better be vigilant because the people around him are not loyal to him, and we've seen that. He needs to get better people around him. He doesn't need the Roger Stones. He doesn't need the Paul Manaforts. He doesn't need the Rick Gates. He doesn't need the John Boltons. He doesn't need General Kellys and others. He needs people that are loyal to him, and he's in a perilous state right now because the Democrats have failed on at least 2 occasions to take him out legally. What will they do now that he is likely to be reelected? And that's the fear. And that's why we must hold these people legally accountable to the rule of law. And that's why the president must surround himself with good people. He must have a secret service which is loyal to him. And we must pray for him, our God, the Judeo-Christian God, that he will be kept well. Because if he goes down, we're all going to go down. Look who's on the horizon. The socialist communist Bernie Sanders, the socialist communist Elizabeth Warren, other Looney Tunes like Pete Buttigieg and others. Joe Biden, someone who can't even remember who he is half the time. He's so far gone. Bloomberg, someone who frankly does not have the gravitas or frankly spend his time regulating how much Coca-Cola fluid is in a bottle. I mean, this is what we're facing coming up. And I'm not telling you who to vote as the head of Freedom Watch. But you can pretty much figure out who I'm going to vote for. And I can say that in my private capacity. But it's not just voting. This president needs to get to November 4th, 2020. He needs to survive, and we need to help him survive. So go to freedomwatchusa.org. Go to radioamerica.com. Go to Spotify. Go to iTunes. Go to Patreon. Go to American Greatness. I'm going to have an article on there tomorrow and another podcast dealing with the threats, potential threats to the president and his continued existence. Watch what we're doing. Join our Justice League. Get up off the couch. As I've said, put the popcorn and Diet Coke down and roll up your sleeves. It's not enough to watch Sean Hannity and think something's going to happen, because it isn't going to happen by the government. It's not enough to listen to Tom Fitton and say, okay, we got documents. Now Justice Department, do something. Under all of our attorney generals under Trump, they've done nothing, absolutely nothing. Talk, no action. Lindsey Graham, Capitol Hill, talk, no action. Time for action. Join Freedom Watch's Justice League. Support our citizens' grand juries. Support Radio America. Support educating the people and bringing them together. That's my message for today. God bless you. God bless your family. God bless America. And God save America. And God protect our great 45th President of the United States. Thank you for listening to me.